the 6 tips to building a well-structured uni-level business are: number 1 is a general rule of thumb you want to always abide by, is you want to keep your volume high and tight. What this means is keeping your personal volume, so that can come from distributors that you've personally enrolled and of course customers. And you want to keep these people as near to you as possible within your organization to benefit the most from the volume that they're creating within your group. Okay, tip number 2 is try to avoid personally enrolling distributors beyond level 3. So I guess the tip here really is try to make sure that when you personally enroll distributors, you're enrolling them on levels 1, 2, and potentially level 3. Try to avoid pushing them further down within your organization, because you're only going to be pushing the volume further away from you, which is something, like I say, according to tip number 1, you want to try to avoid. Tip number 3 is avoid creating what are called power legs. Power legs are basically single lines of enrollments where you're working from top to bottom, where you'd have people enrolling people constantly underneath them, always forming new levels. You want to try to avoid that, because again, that's pushing volume away from you and not really abiding to the high and tight rule that I mentioned as tip 1. Tip number 4 is what you want to do is definitely create what's called a customer center account, and I'm going to show you exactly what one looks like, how to create one, how to use it, and why it's important on the next slide. But it is really fundamental, because this is a great place for you to keep all of your customer volume near to you, but also sort of in an organized place within your organization. Tip number 5 is focus on building 2 main distributor legs to around 5,000 in volume before you decide to open up that 3rd distributor leg. I'm going to explain a little bit more about why that is in a second, but this really is a great tip because it allows you to start to cultivate leadership by building teams rather than trying to open loads of legs and launch loads of different businesses with not many people working together. And tip number 6 is work with an experienced upline when building out your team. Really, if you're ever in doubt about anything when it comes to structuring your organization, I guarantee there's someone within the team, either here in the UK or somewhere in our upline, that can definitely lend some advice and help you out. So don't feel scared to reach out. Make sure you reach out, because everyone in your upline is there to help you succeed as much as possible, and they want you to get the most from this compensation plan as possible as well. Okay, so they're my sort of 6 tips to building a well-structured uni-level business. Now let's look at a real-life example. Okay, so let's say hypothetically you get started as a distributor. You can see to a key to the top right hand side, anyone that comes into this image with a D is a personally enrolled distributor of yours. Anyone with a single C is a customer, and a double C refers to that customer center I talked about. So let's start to build out your organization. Let's see it goes like this. It could go in different orders, so you could maybe get some customers first and then distributors, but really the principles are still the same. So you would first go out and you share the plan and you enroll your first distributor. Okay, and they now become position on your first level within your first leg. You've opened up your first leg and they are the first distributor on your level 1. You share the plan some more and you find a second distributor who wants to team up with you and build the business, but they don't know distributor 1 too well. So what you're going to do is actually you're going to open up a second leg, and you can see they're still on your level 1, but they've opened up your second leg. And then now let's talk about creating this customer center account that I mentioned. Okay, so when you get started in this business, it can be one of the first things you do is you want to create an account. Through your account, you're not actually required to order any product. You can actually create this as a free account. I would generally refer to it as your name plus CC, customer center, and this account is simply going to be there so that you can actually place people below it and start to form this customer center on your level 2 on an infinite width rather than going depth. Okay, and let me explain why. Because if you have a customer center, what you avoid happening is that whenever you personally enroll a customer yourself, that would automatically, with this compensation plan, open a new leg. What you're able to do is actually place people, with the enroller ID as Greg CC and the placement ID as Greg CC, and your upline will be able to show you how to get these, these ID numbers that comes with each account if you don't already know. But you'll be able to, as you'll see in a second, enroll these people along level 2. So you've created your customer account, you've got a couple of legs open with distributors, and then you go out and share the plan, and you find another distributor, and this could be distributor 3, and distributor 3 and distributor 1, they know each other and they're going to work really well together. So what you do is you can actually place distributor 3 on your level 2, but on the level 1 for distributor 1. Okay, and they're now going to team up and work together, and you continue to share the plan, and again you find someone who is going to work well or who already knows, for example, distributor 1, and so you place distributor 4 still on level 2, but you open a second leg for distributor 1. Hopefully that makes sense. You continue to share the plan, and you're going to do a very similar thing here with distributors 5 and 6. They're both going to work very well with distributor 2, but by putting them both on level 2, you're of course opening up new legs for distributor 2, but it also means that you're keeping, like I said before, your volume high and tight rather than enrolling in a single long line. Okay, so let's look at what happens next. Okay, so now you've got your customer center, you're sharing the products, and you now find a customer. Okay, what you want to do is when you enroll that customer, of course you're going to tick preferred customer, but what you're actually going to do is put the enroller ID as the Greg CC Zango ID. So each account here, whether it's distributor or customer, has what's called a Zango ID. So when you're enrolling customer 1, you have the option to edit the enroller ID and the placement ID, both of which you want to make sure are the Zango ID of Greg CC. Okay, and if you don't understand that, definitely reach out to an upline, and hopefully it'll make sense. But if you do that, if you put the placement ID and the enroller ID as the account Zango ID for Greg CC, what it will mean is customer 1 will automatically drop to your level 2, okay, and then from there on, customer 2 and 3, etc, 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 hopefully a long line of customers you'll be forming, and you'll be able to keep all of that customer volume without opening up loads of different legs, but all on level 2. And the cool thing here is that because Greg CC is an account that is not active, because you don't require yourself to order product through the Greg CC account, okay, what you're able to do is all of that volume and all of these enrolled people, even though they enrolled and their enroller ID shows Greg CC, because the Greg CC account is technically inactive because it's not ordering product on a monthly basis, because of something called dynamic compression, which is something definitely to learn a little bit about as you start to build out a Uni-Level compensation plan. Because of something called dynamic compression, all of your customers on level 2 are actually going to go up, and they're now going to be personally enrolled customers of you. They're not physically going to change spots, so they're going to stay on your level 2, but in the system they're going to show up as your customers anyway, so you're not missing out. If anything, you're actually going to be better off because, like I said, you're able to keep all of that customer volume in one confined place without having to open loads of different legs. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully that's very clear. If you don't, again, if you have any questions, then definitely reach out to an upline. So let's look at what's going to happen next. So for example, you're working with distributor 3, you help them share the plan, then distributor 3 actually goes out and finds a distributor. So what happens now? Where do you place someone if you now find an additional person? And so say, for example, in this scenario, distributor 3, they've opened their first leg, you then go out and find a new distributor who is going to work extremely well with distributor 3. You would do the same thing as you did with distributor 4, as you can see directly above. But in this scenario, like I say, you want to try and avoid going any lower than sort of level 3 within your organization. Try to avoid level 3 if you can. But in this scenario, distributor 3 and distributor 7 are going to work extremely well. So you're going to, of course, place them within there. And of course, they're now sitting on your 3rd level within your organization. Okay, and let's look at what happens next. So you've seen here now, distributor 8, we've now opened a 3rd distributor focused leg. So leg 1, leg 2 is definitely distributor focused, okay? Within these legs, you're going to be building leaders, you're going to be cultivating, a lot of volume from these groups by, of course, getting them, teaching them and enabling them how to share the product, and of course get distributors, just like yourself. And so a lot of volume is going to be coming from these 2 legs. Your goal really is to make sure that leg 1 and leg 2 is producing around 5,000 in volume before you decide to open up a real sort of 3rd distributor leg. So leg 1 is distributor focused, leg 2 is distributor focused as well. Leg 3 is, as you can see here, visually is your customer center, but you want to avoid opening that 3rd leg right out the gate. Try and keep people together. If you're bringing in great distributors in the business, don't split them all up. Maybe try and put them together, get them to work together, cultivate some some team environment, cultivate some leadership, and it's going to allow you and them to win much more easily, because this business is done so much more effectively when people work as a team. And then when you get to that point, like I say, a 5,000 in each leg, and you think the time is right and you found someone new, real leader, and you want to put them on your 1st level, then you can do that, and of course repeat the process of helping them share the product and share the idea to build out that group. So hopefully that's made sense.